recording. And I just want to say hello, everybody, and welcome to our second live session of the Social Design online course. By the way, I wanted to mention that you can get different views of the app. Up in the right-hand corner there is a little multiple dots thing to click. And when you do that, you can see everybody's video. And otherwise, only the person who is speaking shows up as big, in case you didn't know that. Anyway, this is being recorded for those who cannot make it. I know that the time is sometimes a little conflicted for some people around the planet as we are engaged with people all over. But here we are, and this is a big module, so I think I'm going to pass it on to the facilitators to give you some pointers what to look for and how to move ahead in this module 2. So take it over.
Right. Great. Thank you, Giovanni. So yeah, welcome to the call, everyone. I'm glad that you could make it and some other people may be joining us. I did get a few messages from people saying that this day or time was not going to work for them. So we'll miss them, but others may be joining us. I wanted to invite you all to mute yourself unless you want to speak, and that will reduce background noise for everyone. And then when you want to speak, you can either unmute yourself or raise your hand and wave your hand, or you can chat. You can put something in the chat, and then we will see, whoever has the chat open will be able to see that. Whoops, I've just opened the chat on my whole screen. Okay. Sorry, I'm still learning Zoom as well. All right, let's see. Deborah, would you like to ask a couple of questions or start us off?
I was just going to suggest that we started with a little bit of a round of gratitude, as we've been talking about how to build group cohesion, and one of my favorite practices when I'm working with groups is to share gratitude and just bring a positive feeling to the group. So maybe we could start with sharing something in our life we're feeling grateful for, maybe something in nature or in our family, or just could be something that's happened this week. And that will be a way to bring our minds and hearts together a little bit. And then we can maybe dive more into the course content, any questions and ideas that are arising. So I can start and model that if you like. What am I feeling really grateful for today? Oh, I know. Last night, so I live in a little co-housing community with about 7 other adults and 2 children. And it was the full moon last night. And it's a lovely small holding. We have about 4 acres of land here and lots of trees. And we have a campfire area. And last night, some local friends came over and we had a campfire and a little kind of celebration of the full moon and sang some songs together. And it was just really, really lovely. And we could hear all the different night birds, the owls, and see the full moon rising with the big oak tree. So I feel really grateful for living with lovely people and having the opportunity to celebrate the seasons and the natural cycles. Yeah, that felt really like a nice end to my working day yesterday. So I'm grateful for that. And I will pass to Ingvild because she's next to me on the screen. And hello, Juan. We're just starting with a little hello and some gratitude before we dive into the course. Glad that you could join us.
Yeah, hello everyone. I'm really happy to be here connected with all of you right here, right now. I'm here in Medellin, Colombia. Yeah, I'm really happy to be listening here.
It's great that you could join us. We're going to do a round of sharing some gratitude. Everyone sort of said a little hello, so I'm glad you had a chance to say hello. And what we'll do is once we've shared gratitude, we'll just pass it to someone else that hasn't shared yet. So someone will pass it to you in a few moments. Okay, and I'm passing to Ingvild in Norway.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not in Norway, and I'm very grateful for not being at the moment. I think it's very cold and starting to snow there soon. I'm in Spain, actually, visiting my son. So I feel so grateful being here. He's been moving here from New York for a year. and he moved to the same place where my best friend have been living for years. So I've just had lunch with her, and my son is in the room beside me here, and I feel so happy to be here. So I have 1 week vacation, and I run from the lunch to get to the meeting. And I'm very grateful for your feedback on the report, Deborah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for giving us some of this very precious time with your family and in the sunshine. Who would you like to pass to next?
I think Nadia. Hello, Nadia.
You need to unmute yourself, Nadia.
I got her. Unmute. No?
Hello, everyone. Yes, I was just saying I had my group conversation with Ingvild, so we've already met each other. Apart from that, what am I grateful for today? It's actually a thought I had yesterday. I realize I've been back in the UK a month now after spending 3 months in the south of France. And usually within a week of coming back, I've been living in the UK for 20 years, and within a week of coming back, I always catch a cold. And this time I haven't got one yet for a month. And yesterday I realized it, and I was very happy about it. So it's something very little, very personal, but it just made me feel good.
Thank you, Nadia. I think health is an amazing thing to feel grateful for, because it's horrible when we don't have good health.
Yeah.
Who would you like to pass to next?
Laura.
Okay, I didn't listen when the introduction was made, but I guess just saying where I am and sending some gratitude, no?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Right now I'm at some friend's place, and I'm really grateful that I can be here. And also I had a train journey today, so I had some time to start it. So I started reading the new module, and I got really excited about the communication part. And yeah, it sounds really, really amazing, and I'm really looking forward to actually trying and trying out to use some of the techniques. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
And just before you pass it on to someone else, I just want to welcome Daria, who's just joined the call. Hello, Daria.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry for being late. For some reason, my camera isn't working, but I can hear and see everyone.
Okay, great. Well, we're just going around one by one, sharing a little bit about where we're calling in from today and something that we're feeling grateful or appreciative of. And Laura just shared she's going to pass it to someone else, and at some point, someone will pass it to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Who would you like to pass to next, Laura?
I don't know who already talked, but maybe Jason?
Sure. Thanks, Laura. It's great to see everyone here today. We got a small group. Deborah, thank you for the comments on the reflection. Thank you for the time. I'm calling from Taipei today, and I just want to say I'm very grateful for coming winter in Taipei, because it's usually very hot and humid, and summer is unbearable. Just small things, but makes me happy.
Thank you, Jason. Who would you like to pass to next?
I would like to pass it to Franca.
Hello. Nice to meet you all. It's my first live call, so I'm glad to be here. I'm in Palermo, in the north of Sicily, and I'm grateful. I'm really grateful for this course, to be able to do it, and I'm really grateful for the way you're following us, for the feedback and the time, and it's very nice way of doing it as well. And I'm also very grateful because I'm in a blank, empty house, and with the help of some friend, we will start putting it a bit more of confusion inside and make it look more like a house. And I'm grateful for the help I will be receiving to do that. Yep. And I will pass it to, well, to Deborah. Oh no, you said it. To Giovanni.
Thank you, Franca. Yeah, I am grateful for my community, which goes, for those of you who have had a living in community experience, the highs and lows come and go, and I'm really grateful that I can share the highs and lows with my community, my people who I've known and lived with for over 40 years now. Both in times when we celebrate either birthdays or births or other life-changing events, and also times when we lose people in our community. I'm still mourning a bit the loss of a very dear young member of our community who was born among us, and he was only 43 when he passed last week. So I'm grateful that I have that support of a community to deal with these things that come and go in life. And I will pass it on to Juan.
So thank you, Giovanni. I'm really grateful for being here today at home with the cats I share my life. They are running down there. And yeah, I'm grateful for being connected today with you. I'm really grateful for the job I'm doing every day. When I wake up, I have a purpose in my life that is really worth it to me. And I'm really grateful for being absorbing all the learnings here through Gaia Education with all of you. With this collective mind we are shaping here every day. And that's it. And thank you. I feel really blessed, yeah, to be here. Maybe we have done here. Franca, maybe Franca.
I think Franca has shared, but maybe Alison hasn't. Did you share gratitude today, Alison?
I haven't shared today. Hi, everyone, again.
Right.
Alison. What am I grateful for? I've been enjoying listening to you all, and let me give some moments to think. Right now, I'm feeling most grateful that I'll get the chance tomorrow to travel to a memorial for my ex-husband and dear friend and community founder, Chad Knepp. He died last week as well at the age of 48. And so I'll be going with his daughter, bringing his daughter to the family memorial along with my own daughter. And so we're going up to Michigan to be with his family, who I'm also fairly close to, some of them. So I'm glad, as Giovanni said, that our community, our extended community, can support each other in times of grief and loss, and remember each other's life afterwards together, those of us who are still alive. There's actually, at the same time, there's going to be a community grief ritual that was planned before he died, just for everyone who has things to grieve in their lives to get together, and in a very structured setting that's designed for that purpose, to have some space to grieve whatever they're grieving. So in a way, I'll be sharing that time with my community, even though I'll be in a different state. Did Ingvild get to share?
Yeah, I think only Daria is left.
Daria, you're up.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry that you guys can't see me, but I just woke up, so you probably are not missing much. I am calling from Salt Spring Island on the west coast of Canada, and it is a rainy day today. I'm going to have a simple day. I worked really hard physically yesterday. I put an 800 square foot roof on a structure so we can store equipment for the winter, and I mostly did it by myself, really high up. So I'm thankful I finished it, and I can rest in the house today because it's raining a lot and things are dry underneath it.
Wow, Daria, there's a lot of impressed looking faces. I think you can see us, right? There's a lot of people smiling and going, woo!
Yeah,
Congratulations. That's a big accomplishment. Yeah, well done. I so enjoy hearing all of your gratitudes. It really gives me a good feeling, and I feel so much more connected with all of you. It's like I said, it's a practice that I use a lot in groups, and I always feel it opens my heart and makes whatever we talk about next go much more easily and be more fun. And it's really interesting that both Gio and Alison mentioned these friends that have passed away this week. I also lost a friend a week ago who was only 38, and we're having a celebration of her life on Monday. There's a big celebration in Scotland, but it's too far for me to go, so we live right on the other end of the UK, and some of our community here are gathering to celebrate her. And interestingly, she's one of the main people that brought grief tending to the UK. That was her work. So it's she ran a project called the Keening Project in Scotland, and yeah, wonderful woman. So it really, although I feel sad that so many of us are losing people, and sounds like very important people in our lives that were doing really amazing work with their lives, it just reminds me of that sweetness of life, you know, the remembering to enjoy every moment, and all these things that we say are small that we share, but health and seeing our children and our friends and getting a job accomplished and being together are so worth celebrating, particularly in the light of how short and fragile life can be. So I feel particularly touched to hear this combination of gratitudes and also the losses that people are experiencing. So thank you all for being here and celebrating life in this way with us by doing this course and all the amazing projects you're doing in your areas. And for the rest of the call, we have some time to reflect on Module 1 and any big questions that came up for you or things that came up in the forums, and also to start exploring Module 2 a little bit. And I'm going to pass over to Alison because I think she had 1 or 2 questions that she wanted to ask you.
Right, thanks, Debs. We wanted to know a couple of things from you about how the course is working. There have been a couple of changes this year, and so we wanted to ask you how those changes are going for you, because as you may have been reading in Module 2 and some in Module 1 as well, you know, we get to create our own culture around how to receive feedback, how to give feedback, how to make changes when we get feedback that we are surprised by or is interesting and new. And so we want to invite your feedback so that the course can grow and become better for you all. One of the new things is that when you post your reflection, it's not visible to other students. And in the past few years, the reflections have been in a forum, just like your introduction forum. And so everyone sees all the reflections. And we changed it this year so that it's an assignment. So it's private, the same way as the quiz is private, and others don't see it. And then you have to get a 70% or higher in order to pass that module. And so since it's a graded assignment, it seems appropriate for it to be private. On the other hand, we've gotten some feedback from someone who already did the other modules where the reflection was public for other students to see. And she really benefited from seeing them and reading them and hearing others' reflections. It was very connecting for her, and she learned a lot by reading other people's reflections on the module. So she's written me a few messages already regretting that lost opportunity. And Giovanni and I were, sorry about that. Giovanni and I were chatting a bit about that and thought we would ask you if you have any feedback about that. Does it make sense for you to have the reflections be private? Or do you think you would rather have them be in an open forum for all to see? So does anyone have any feedback for us about that? I realize you may not have taken any of the other modules, so you might not really have an experience of that the way this other student did. Don't see anyone unmuting. Go ahead and unmute yourself if you have any thoughts about this. Franca?
Yeah, I have an observation. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we are telling here a story of interbeing rather than separation. So is for being coherent with that view, I think it will be great to recover how we can share our reflections, because in that way we can reinforce this mental, this collective mind. Regarding the quiz, I was wondering if we will keep. So sorry for my pronunciation. So
okay.
I see we are now in a wave of multiple selection, true false. Before we have the opportunity of some more critical view or writings on some topics. But for me, it's good because I think, yeah, in this wave of reading comprehension, I think is efficient. But yeah, I think mostly with the reflection, we should to reconsider, to come back a way of where we can share our views. That's
so it sounds like you it makes sense to see the quiz be private, and having it changed to multiple choice. You noticed that was changed as well, but that makes sense to you because the quiz is mostly just about reading comprehension. But you can also imagine it being very helpful to see the forums because of the way that builds the group field and informs us as one group, as an organism.
Yeah, for sure. That's I agree.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I'm glad you agree because I was trying to summarize what I heard you saying. So you agree with yourself. That's great. Franca, did you have some input?
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with what Joan just said. And I think that to have the reflection shared might build up in our learning process. And it might be stimulating for some group work to develop, or it's a way just to get more connected between each other. And I don't know if it's because it's just the beginning, but maybe it would also give more content, something more to the forum. Like I don't understand yet. This all is very new for me. But if in the forum we want to stimulate some discussions about the content, it might be adding up if the reflections were public. Mm-hmm. I also have a question about the quiz, but maybe it's not the time to ask it. Where should I go?
I think you can go ahead and ask it, and then we'll come back to the question of the reflection.
Right, because with the first module, I did the reading and then the quiz. And of course, the quiz goes back to the reading and makes you rethink about it. I was wondering if you would suggest to do it twice, maybe once before doing the reading, to start having an overall idea of what the reading will be about and to sort of trace back the questions while reading, especially if we can do it as many times as possible in terms of passing. No, it might be, if you have any experience on that. If it's
Sure. I think you know yourself best and you know what is best for your learning, that sounds like a great approach to test yourself first and see, oh, what do I think about this before I do the reading? And just explore those questions within your own mind before you do the reading. In fact, we used to have, at the very beginning of the course, I believe, we had a question before you do the reading to answer this question, and then after doing the reading, what's your answer to this question? So I think it makes a lot of sense. It's also fine if you want to read it first, of course, and then do the quiz. But as you pointed out, you can do multiple attempts. Yeah. And it sounds like you agree with what Juan said about the reflections. And I wonder, our other question, sorry, my cat really wants to be in this call. My other question for you was about the forum itself for each module. We used to have a discussion forum within each module that was only about that module. But sometimes it was confusing for people to know where to post things, because there's also a social dimension discussion forum, which is where you posted your introductions. And so I have this idea just now. Well, right now that discussion forum points back in each module, it points back to the original forum. Sorry if this is a bit confusing, but I have this idea now. What if we didn't have it point to the general social dimension forum? What if we invited people to post their reflections, if they choose, in the discussion forum for that module? And then each module would have its own discussion forum, and it would be a place where we would invite reflections there, where the facilitators could post a question for reflection. Maybe it's the same one that you answered in the reflection, or it could be a related question. And people can either copy and paste their reflection into there if they want, or they can write something else if they don't choose to do that, if they want it to stay private. What do you think of that idea? Looks like Nadia's raising her hand. See some thumbs up.
Yes. Yes, I wanted to say, first of all, I think that's a great idea. This is what I was wondering as well. What are the different forums, discussions? Because it seemed like it did link back to the same discussions as in the general group introduction one. So thanks for clarifying this now. I think it's a great idea to have each forum discussion separate, and also coming and make it more voluntary for people to post the reflection if they want to or not. I agree with what Frank and Juan said, that it would be very helpful to read everybody else's feedback, but some people might not feel comfortable on a specific topic to share it. So I think that's a great idea. I also want to say thanks to Deborah, and I guess Alison as well, but I didn't receive your feedback, for replying straight away. I just saw that before logging into the video that you've replied to my reflection, and I'm just amazed how quickly you've done it, that's all. I just wanted to say that.
Right, yeah, I think we have a number of Deborah's students on the call. That's interesting. Yeah, we each read the reflections of our own students. We have half of the students each, and so so Deborah is responding to her students' reflections, and I'm responding to mine. Yeah, so it sounds like many people have said they would like to have the reflections be visible if the people who have written them choose to make them so. And I wonder, Giovanni, is that feasible to do that from now on?
Well, it is feasible, but I just want to explain a little bit why it is the way it is right now.
Sure.
In the past, we didn't give a certificate for each of the 4 dimensions. Now people have been asking, it's because some people only take one of the dimensions. So they've been asking, can I get a certificate for having completed the social or the economic or any of the 4 dimensions? We decided to give a certificate for the single dimension and to download that automatically from the classroom. So when you finish the social dimension, you can download a certificate, or it's actually a letter of acknowledgement for completing the social dimension. In order to do that, the site has to recognize that you have done the prerequisites, which is the quiz and the reflection. In a forum, it is hard to check that, because people can go to a forum and just post hi, and they did it. So we thought it would be better to make it an assignment so that the platform can recognize that the student made the assignment, the facilitator gave feedback, and the platform checks that off. Now you have that checked off when you go download your letter of accomplishment. What I said, and about the forums, it was the same thing. It was feeling like there are too many forums and people were not participating enough. What we want is more participation. So this is why we made a single forum where people, when they post there, they can see everything that's been going on in the classroom. But it's all separated by different topics. As you know, you can start a new topic in a forum. So the general forum, that's the purpose there. I think it's a good idea to share the reflections, but not necessarily the back and forth between the facilitator and the student. I think that should remain private. Mm-hmm. So in that case, what I suggest is take the same question from the reflection and post it in the discussion forum. Mm-hmm. And then those that want to can just paste from the reflection into the discussion to share it with others. And those that want to keep it private can still keep it private. I think that's probably the best way to go with this. I'm sorry if this is confusing, but we've given it a lot of thought of how to get the most out of each of the areas and how to get students to talk to each other and be more interactive. And this is what we came up with so far. Obviously, if it doesn't work, we'll change it, but I just wanted you to know some of the reasoning.
It sounds great. It sounds like everyone is saying, yeah, let's keep the reflection as it is. It obviously makes sense in order to be able to issue these letters of certificate for it to stay as an assignment that needs to be graded by the facilitators. But we also want to stimulate discussion and connection, as you said, and for the students to be able to learn from each other. So it sounds like what we're closing in on is the idea of keeping the assignment as it is, but making each module have a discussion forum just for that module that doesn't point to the general social dimension discussion forum. And have the question be the same as the reflection question, and invite people to post their reflection there if they choose. If they want to, they could also answer it differently for the public consumption from how they answered it for the facilitator or for the administrators.
Alison, and I guess we might also post the odd question on the discussion forums that we're curious about in terms of how people are engaging with those modules. Or other people could post questions of how are people finding this? I find this topic provoking or uncomfortable or curious. So yeah, we'd love to have some interesting, lively dialogue going back and forth about the different topics.
Yeah. You know, sorry, Alison. I just wanted to say that this points to the learning community that we want to happen here. So, you know, you don't need to rely on the facilitators to prompt everything. You can prompt things. You can invite people to comment on things. You can come up with things that are not even in the course if you would like. So this is a learning community. We're here to learn from each other. I learn a lot each time we run this course, and I think we all do. So this is good. I'm no problem to make a forum for each module. I'll move on that, and that's what we'll do.
Great. And we'll post the reflection there and make it clear that students are invited to just paste their answers there if they wish.
Okay.
Great. Okay, Laura?
Yeah, Laura has her hand up.
Deborah, I'm going to pass the facilitation back to you. Those were the questions I wanted to ask.
Can I just... I feel like it's a good idea to post the reflections, but for me it would be better to post it not in a separate discussion forum, but in the main one, because I find it a bit difficult to keep track on all the discussions when it's like all separate and yeah.
That's what we were thinking also, Laura. Yeah, I can go either way.
Yeah, I could go either way. Sorry, I have content to offer here now. I've passed the facilitation to Deborah, and I realized I passed it before we actually made a decision, so sorry about that. Deborah, are you willing to take over facilitating this decision? Great.
Sure.
So the content I wanted to offer is that another change this year is that the introductions, the student introductions, were all put into the general social dimension forum. Previously, that was a separate forum for the introductions, if I remember correct. So now there are many, many topics in this general forum. And I find when people post a discussion topic, I don't see it because it looks like another introduction or something. And sometimes I don't see all the introductions. So yeah, there is that possibility of things getting lost if they're all in the same forum. I'm curious what you think of that, Laura.
Yeah, I thought the same. Maybe, I don't know if it's possible to make like another topic in the main discussion forum. So maybe it's like all the introduction, and then you click on it, and then you can see all the introductions. I don't know if it's possible, and then maybe do another one which says reflections module 1, and yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe something like adding a new forum to the general area rather than adding new forums to all the modules. So we have the current forum, which is basically full of introductions, and then can we make a second forum for the whole course where we now discuss the modules within that forum? So we separate out the introductions and any further discussion. So instead of maybe having 5 or 6 forums, we just have 2, one for all the introductions and then now for our learning community to talk about the content. How about that? Alison says yes. Gio, is that possible? Is it possible to have a second forum just in the main platform, the kind of...
Absolutely. I'll create a general forum, and I'll keep everything like it is right now, but also create a general forum, and then under each module, the forum will go to the general forum. Is that what you're suggesting? Yeah.
Yes, so that we kind of start fresh. We have all the introductions in one place, and then we have all the further discussions about the content of each module in another general forum.
Okay.
Yeah, Alison?
Just wanted to ask if you could change also the title of the current general forum so that it just says participant introductions.
Okay.
Great. Okay, does that sound like a good middle ground? So we end up with 2 forums, not 5, and then we can post our reflections in the new forum if we want to, but we can also suggest other topics to discuss with each other. Let's, if everyone's happy with this, it's on this call, let's see a thumb, and if you have a question or a concern, go sideways and I'll come to you. Okay, great. Bill's happy. Who's got a sideways thumb?
Nadia?
Nadia. Let's hear from Nadia. And of course, I don't know what Darlene is doing yet too, so.
I just have one question. I'm not sure to understand. Is that link of discussion within each module, are you going to erase that? Because
No.
that's going to...
No,
is that something different?
We'll leave it like it is, but it will go to the general discussion.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
So it will remain as it is.
Yeah.
It will just point to, at the moment it points to the one where all the introductions are, but it will point to a fresh forum where we can start again.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, great.
That's
And
good.
Daria, I can't see you to know if you have any questions or not. Ah, here we go. She's posting some questions. A few questions about exercises. All right, we'll come to that in a moment. Daria, are you happy with the suggestion that we've made about the forums?
Yeah, very happy. It sounds great for me.
Great, thank you. And Ingvild, were you having a question about the forums? Do you want to go next? And then I'll come back to Daria's questions on module 2.
Okay. I get a bit confused. So the content forum will be talking about the different modules?
Yes, so we're going to have 2 forums. We're going to have 2 forum introductions and 1 for discussion.
Yeah.
Say again, sorry?
So I wonder, it would be nice to have the possibility to know which module people are talking about. So maybe you can suggest that people write module 2 in what they are posting, or module 1. So we start with, or nothing, if it's an overall question or overall opinion, because it's,
Sure.
it's a nice.
We could make a suggestion.
I get a lot of things to read after a while, so I get a bit confused. Yeah.
We can suggest that. Alison, did you want to add to that?
Just an idea of how we could do that. I want to find out if this would work for you. Ingevild, if the facilitators at the beginning of each module were to start a new thread with the reflection question in it for people to post their reflections, and we would have in the subject line, you know, reflections module 2 or something like that.
Okay, and then if people want to start a discussion about something completely else, they can, and just put a relevant topic.
So,
Perfect.
so as
Okay.
not to be repetitive, please make sure that people understand the reflection is required for the certificate. The discussion is not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so make sure you, don't do the discussion instead of the reflection activity. Otherwise we'll be chasing you all saying, why haven't you submitted your reflections? Okay, thank you everyone. Now I noticed that Daria has posted some questions in the chat about module 2, so I'm going to read those out and let's see if we can answer them and if anyone else is sharing those questions or other questions around module 2. So in the individual exercise, the first sharing is about what we admire in the person in front of us, or a third person question. Also, I've not yet found a group for the group exercises, and I would like to find a few people in my time zone who are willing to go through all the group exercises for a whole course. Is there a way that we can facilitate that? Okay, so 2 different questions. I haven't actually, Alison, have you got on the top of your mind the individual exercise, or should we go and remind ourselves?
Yeah, I have an answer for that.
Okay, thank you.
It is for the person in front of you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And with the group exercises, Gia or Alison, is there any way, you've been facilitating this course longer than me, it's only my 2nd year, but is there a way that we can help organize people into similar time zones? Do we have that information in a spreadsheet somewhere about which countries everyone is in?
We do, yes. We do have that. We could do that, Daria, if it's proving challenging for you. I think you can also see all of that information if you click on participants. Is that in the upper left, I think? And then you can see where everyone is and choose people in your time zone.
Actually not.
Oh, I guess that's just us that can see it. Yeah, we could facilitate that. I haven't done it before, but I'm sure I could. I mean, I think one of the benefits of the forums is that you can do that yourself proactively in the forum. So the way most people do this kind of thing is in that group forum for that activity, they'll post an email or a message saying, hey, I'm in Spain or wherever, you know, I'd like to find someone in my time zone. And then someone in South Africa says, oh, I'm in your time zone, let's do it together. And then they might pair up for the rest of the modules. So why don't you try that, because there are 60 of you and we can't really do it for everyone. So I don't really want to set the precedent of the facilitators teaming people up. I'd like you to get that experience and learning if possible. So Daria, are you comfortable trying that out on your own? It's not.
Yeah, I will try that. I want to share that when I took the worldview earlier this year, it took us a while to find each other.
Yeah.
And so what I was thinking, that I can make an effort to find other people, and when I find them, could we stick together throughout all of the dimensions if people are taking more of one dimension?
I think you can certainly make that agreement with people if they are going through the dimensions.
Yeah.
Gia had, sorry, Gia, go ahead.
Yeah, well, first, I want to offer that I can help a little bit with this. I'm going to post a list of all the students and where they're from, names and location. I won't post their emails there, but you can find their emails by clicking on their name in the list of participants. That's one way. That way it'll save a little bit of time, I think. And then, Daria, unfortunately, not everybody goes through all the dimensions. So you may end up with a group of 3 people, and 1 or 2 of those will not be in the ecological dimension, for example. So that may not work. But if you find people who are taking the whole thing and they are in their group, then that will work.
Yeah. Are most people that do the group exercises arranging to have conference calls to talk about what they do in the group exercises?
They do that, yes, if it's convenient. It's
Yeah.
it's entirely up to you.
Okay. Thank you. That's helpful.
Okay.
Thanks, Daria. Alison, you had something?
Yeah, I was looking at Daria's first question about the individual exercise for Module 2, and I went to read it because I was confused myself when I heard Giovanni's answer. It says, participants sit first in pairs looking at each other. Each person speaks for 2 minutes while the other listens. The theme to talk about is the qualities of a person whom I admire. And I always thought that that was about anyone whom we admire.
No, I'm sorry. I think I answered a little bit too soon. You're right.
Okay.
It can be anybody. Yes.
Yeah, it could be anybody. So Daria, you're to speak to the person about anyone that you admire. It could be that person, or it could be anyone else that you admire.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I was looking at the same one now. I hadn't got it in front of me at the time. Okay, good. So does that clear that up? So thank you for those questions, Daria. This would be a good time. We have a few minutes left to see if anyone else has questions coming up for Module 2 as we're diving into that content now. So how is everyone else doing? Do you have any questions about engaging with the course generally, or about anything you're encountering in Module 2? And just go ahead and unmute yourself or wave at me if you have any questions. Maybe not yet. Nadia? Yeah?
Sorry, it's not about Module 2. I haven't read it yet.
Okay.
It's just about these live sessions that you're organizing, one per module. I missed the first one. I guess the first one was introductory. I'm just wondering, are they all going to be like this, reflecting about how the course works, giving us opportunity to talk about some of the material, to get to know each other, or will they evolve in a different way? Will they become more like teaching material?
No, we don't tend to do any teaching on these classes. Alison and I are just facilitators, and Gio's the course coordinator. The teaching materials have all been designed ahead of time and put into the classroom already. So although, you know, we have opinions and expertises in some areas, so we're very happy to share our own experiences from our professional lives. And I know this module that's coming up, Module 2, is one that Alison and I are both very interested in and passionate about. So if you ask us, I'm sure we'd be happy to share. Alison?
Yeah, I would just like to respond. I really appreciate that question. I wonder, Daria, looking back at what we've done on this call so far, you haven't read Module 2, but it's about group governance, decision-making, and facilitation. Have you noticed anything about this call that was relevant to the module?
I think it was Nadia that you were asking rather than Daria.
Oh, sorry, Nadia.
Oh, sorry. No, I haven't read Module 2.
Yeah, so I asked you those questions, and we facilitated this call together in a sort of team way, partly because I wanted to give you an experience of making a decision together.
Okay.
We are a group on this program, and we can create the culture of it ourselves. How it's governed is largely up to us, and how we interact with each other is largely up to us. And I wanted to give you an experience of participating in creating the community, the learning community that you're a part of. And so it may not have looked like teaching to you, Nadia, but the way I teach is very much experiential. And you will see when you get into the module that it's very much about participatory governance and taking a role in shaping our society and our world. And so often on these calls, we do attempt to bring the material to life for you, either through an activity, a question to be thinking about, a game that we would play together, or some interactive experience that draws on the wisdom in the course. I also invite you to bring such things. Sometimes a student will say, oh, I have experience in this area. I want to share for a few minutes about it and then take questions about it. So that also could happen. So just to broaden your idea of teaching might look like, and notice that these calls do have that aspect to them, even if it doesn't look like a lecture.
Yeah.
So it is like practicing what the course is about without realizing we're doing, which I think is the best way to learn.
We're very sneaky.
And that's why I brought the gratitude as well, just as a simple technique you can use for building a community of learning that trusts each other and feels good. So the one other thing I wanted to mention, we've kind of alluded to it, and Alison certainly did, is that many of us will have our own areas of interest and expertise, and many of us are involved in projects and communities. And so some of us will already have been applying some of these techniques, and some of us will be new to others. So I really enjoy hearing on these calls from people that have already maybe been experimenting with shared governance or different forms of conflict resolution or building their groups, and to hear your stories of successes and challenges and the questions that come up. That's really rich too, that we can kind of peer mentor each other and learn together in that way. So I think there will be content coming in from other people in terms of stories and experiences as well. So please do feel, as you go into the material of the next module, think about how you've seen these things playing out in the groups and projects you're part of, and we'll definitely invite you to share some of that in future calls.
Yeah, and the third live call will be just after we finish Module 2. So Module 2 is quite a long one, and so we've given you extra time for it. You have until November 9th to read and do the exercises. And then the next live call will be a few days after that, the following Wednesday. And often the third live call is a really juicy one because people have really taken in the stuff that was in Module 2, which is the heart of the social dimension. And often there are a lot of really great questions about those topics like conflict and nonviolent communication, how to work together with people when you're different from each other, and so forth. So I have been speaking with one of my mentors, Dominic Barter, who originated Restorative Circles in Brazil, which is now used around the world for engaging with conflict in a creative way. And he's agreed to be on one of our live calls. So I'm not sure which one he'll be on, but I'm hoping it will be that one on November 14th. So I hope that you'll try to attend all of the live calls, because often great things come up and sometimes we can get a guest on them as well.
That is so wonderful, Alison, to bring on a guest. I never thought of that, but it is a great opportunity. Yeah. Thank you for doing it.
Thanks, Alison. Thanks to you. And it looks like Franca had her hand up then.
Yep. Well, first a reflection on what Nadia just said, and I think it builds up on what we were discussing about publishing our reflections or not. I think that to publish them is a way to start using this sort of new language as well, and trying to answer each other might be a way to apply what we're studying, right? When Alison asked for feedbacks, I was like, all right, what's the structure of the feedback giving? But it's a way to practice, no? So it might be even more useful. And in fact, I also have a question on the feedback side of the reading. I think it was already on Module 2. There's something on page 17 and page 23, but anyways, it's about, the question is, to be a feedback, does it have to be on a personal level? Does the feedback relate to something that has to do with relationship or the way we relate to each other? Because this question arises because I was thinking in teaching something else, in teaching English or in teaching science, or in doing a work together, you want to give a feedback about how that table is done. It has nothing to do, well, it can hurt because you really wanted to make the table nice, but does it change? And what's the difference, if there's a difference procedure approach? Yeah, is that clear?
I can take a stab at answering that, unless you would like to, Deborah.
You go first. I've got an answer, but I don't know if it's the right answering the right question.
Yeah, I think I understand your question, Franca, as you're curious about the different kinds of feedback. Some feedback can be very specific, like about an inanimate object, like a table or a chair, and some feedback can be very personal about how other people impact us. And you're wondering which feedback we're talking about. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, in the permaculture course I just took, they were talking about plants and animals and people and all the interbeing that we all have. And one of the principles that we were working from was self-regulate and accept feedback. Then the point is that everything in the world receives feedback in one form or another. Sometimes that feedback is that the plant just dies, and the plant has learned that that place was not supporting its life. And sometimes a relationship fades away and we realize, oh, that relationship was important to us. We get that feedback inside of ourselves and we might respond in one way or another. So I understand feedback very broadly as a way that all organisms, all systems can learn and grow. So a system, if we describe a system as any way of organizing an object or a group or a being, an organism, then that system takes in feedback in order to improve itself, in order to grow, to learn, to reshape itself in a way that's more beneficial to life. So if we don't take in feedback, then we're not going to learn and grow. And so I see, this is partly from Joanna Macy and her writing about systems thinking. I see feedback as an essential thing for learning and growth, no matter what kind of group or organism or being that we're talking about. Does that help?
Yes, it does. Just to clarify maybe the question, that in the readings, there's not a strict, but a sort of suggested procedure to give constructive feedback. And it includes things like don't always use the first person, or I read from the reading, but if your motive is to change them or to take revenge for something they did to you, it won't work. And I got a bit confused where it says if your motive is to change them. Now, sometimes you might not want to change people, of course, but maybe change something they did or suggest to do something differently.
Sure.
So
yeah, we can make requests, absolutely. I mean, I think that one of the principles of nonviolent communication is that we want to give people information about how their actions impact us because we trust that they care about us and we understand that they may need this information about the impact they're having in order to make choices that they want to make. But at the same time, we can't force them to make those changes. We can make requests, and then whether they choose to do what we request is up to them or not. And I love the principle that if they say no to our request, then they're giving us a gift because they are giving us information about what they would say yes to, right? So then we can take in their no and say, oh, I'm so glad to know that that suggestion I have is not going to work for you. Can you give me more information about what would work for you so that we can find the yes together? And the no is also a gift because then we know that they're keeping firm boundaries around what they care about very much. And we don't want people to have mushy boundaries and agree to things that they're not going to do with joy, because that's not going to work for us either. So I believe it's very powerful and important to give feedback and make a request if we have one, as long as we're open to hearing no and seeing no as a gift from the person to us.
Yeah, there's a lot.
If I can add a little something, in feedback, I think feedback is based on observation, a lot of it. And one of the things, the point that I want to make is to be specific when you give feedback, not to be generalize about things, you know, something like, oh, you are too excitable, or I don't know what feedback it might be, but to be specific. So when I observed you doing such and such an action, I felt this way. So the person knows it's that particular action and not a generalized thing that you're giving feedback about. That's pretty important. Otherwise, there's always confusion and more questions than answers. So specific and based on observation. That can be that, you know, it's in nonviolent communication, they refer to it as if you were a video camera. So this is what I saw. There was no question about that. And the feedback is very specific. I don't know if that helped.
It's a very rich topic, feedback, and I'm really wanting to jump in and have this great dialogue and tell stories about it too, but I'm also noticing the time. So I hope we can have more of these rich discussions on the forum and talk about our experiences with feedback. I think Alison and Gio have given some nice pieces there, and thank you for the good question, Franco. And yes, there's some for those of you that haven't dived in yet, there's some really good specific kind of guidelines for how to start experimenting with feedback more, and kind of about halfway through the first section of module 2. So we can explore that more in the forums. And for now, I think we need to start coming to a close, unless someone's sitting with a burning question that they need answering before we go, or a final comment that they were waiting for. One. Okay, let's have one final comment from one.
Oh yeah, no, I'm really thrilled by the contents on this topic, because it's one of the aspects I do every day in my job, but also in my life. But I haven't yet dove into the contents, but by reading the introduction, it makes me evoke a beautiful conversation that the fox has with the little prince, when the fox says, you cannot see without her, because the essential is invisible to the eyes, and it's really important to start seeing with her. It's really important because certainly the prevalent socioeconomic model has highly deemed our view in many aspects. So and how we can find a way to conciliate culture with nature again. In the overall aspects, we understand culture. So yeah, it's really, I'm really excited with this learning process here. So it's really meaningful.
Thank you, Juan. That's very close to my heart as well, and I think it's a lovely place for us to finish. So enjoy module 2. I hope you find it thought-provoking and useful and inspiring, and I look forward to seeing the discussions and the reflections that come from that, and we'll see you on the 9th. And if anyone feels like submitting their assignments a little bit early, that would be very helpful for me, because I'm going to Findhorn to teach the training of trainers for Gaia Education on the 10th. So I might be a bit busy the week afterwards. So yes, if you want to get your assignments in nice and on time, I'd be super grateful. And have a wonderful week and a half, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Okay.